Welcome to the Sleepless Indian Historian. Here, history isn't just a collection of dusty pages. It's a tapestry of voices, of empires and whispers, of memories waiting to be discovered. In these quiet hours, let us journey back in time together, through the moonlit corridors of India's past, where every stone has a story and every shadow holds a secret. Chapter 1. A Quiet Dawn, India before 1857. In the soft hush of dawn, when the first light touches the gentle curves of the land, India in the years before 1857 breathes with a quiet rhythm. The rivers flow calmly through fields of green. The small temples and mosques stand watchful in the mist, and the streets of bustling towns stir awake with the slow song of everyday life. But beneath this calm breath of the land, there is a gentle unease, a soft echo of change carried by the wind. The East India Company, a distant force once content to trade, now rules the land with a quiet, relentless hand. In the markets and the fields, in the old palaces and the humble homes, this change hums softly, like a distant drumbeat growing louder. The company's soldiers, sepoys drawn from villages across the plains, march in neat rows, their boots stirring the dust of roads that once only felt the soft step of pilgrims and farmers. In the courtyards of Pataliputra and the winding lanes of Delhi, merchants whisper of new taxes and strange rules, of lands taken and old kings silenced. The proud thrones of Awadh and Jhansi, once wrapped in the warmth of tradition, feel the slow chill of a foreign hour's touch. Yet in the hearts of those who live by the quiet rhythm of the seasons, there is still the calm of ancient ways. The potter at his wheel, shaping clay with the gentle wisdom of generations. The farmer sowing seed with a prayer on his lips. The soft hum of the plow's song in the warm earth. These small acts of devotion to life continue even as the world around them begins to shift. In the grand cities, the soft glow of evening lamps casts long shadows in the halls of power. British officers in starched uniforms dine to the quiet clink of silver, while outside the air hums with the songs of wandering minstrels and the laughter of children chasing fireflies in the dusk. In the villages, the cool night carries the soft murmur of grandmothers' tales, of the great empires that once were, and the gentle promise that all things must pass and return. There is no thunder yet, no loud cry of defiance. There is only the slow breath of a land learning to live with a foreign master's quiet commands. But in the hearts of soldiers and princes, of farmers and weavers, the small flame of unease flickers. In the hush of these early days, the gentle promise of tomorrow's storm is held softly, like the first curl of smoke from a distant fire. As you listen to this story, let the quiet rhythm of these words ease the weight of the day. Let the soft memory of India before 1857 settle around you like the slow warmth of evening light. A gentle promise that even the smallest breath of discontent can become the slow, patient murmur of change. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and tonight we begin the gentle journey through the soft dawn before the storm. Chapter 2. Seeds of Discontent. Small whispers, growing echoes. In the hush of these early years, the seeds of discontent were sown softly, like the quiet rustle of leaves in the warm breeze of late summer. The rulers of the East India Company, confident in their control, laid down new laws and taxes that reached into every corner of the land. In the small villages, where the air smelled of earth and the evenings were filled with the songs of crickets, these changes arrived not with loud proclamations, but with the slow, patient weight of a new power's touch. The doctrine of lapse, a rule that turned the ancient practice of adoption into a weapon, whispered through the palaces of aging kings, telling them that their lands would no longer pass to their chosen heirs, but to the company's coffers. The slow drip of this doctrine's echo fell into the quiet halls of places like Jhansi, where the soft breath of tradition once carried the promise of continuity and peace. It was a small cut into the heart of inheritance, a quiet disregard for the customs that had shaped these kingdoms for centuries. In the fields, the weight of heavy taxes pressed down on the small farmers, the patient tenders of the earth who measured wealth in grain and quiet prayers. Each year, the company's demands grew louder, even as the rains fell short and the harvests turned thin. The tax collectors, with their ledgers and their calm, expectant voices, became familiar figures at the doorsteps of homes built from the slow labor of generations. In the soft clink of coins in a tax collector's bag, the small farmer heard the distant sigh of his ancestors. And in the silence of his night, he wondered how long he could bend before he would break. The artisans and weavers, too, felt the quiet sting of change. In the small workshops, where the clack of the loom was a lullaby of devotion, the arrival of British manufactured goods undercut their patient labor. The fine muslins of Bengal, the delicate silks of Banaras, each thread a testament to the quiet skill of steady hands, struggled against the flood of imported cloth. In the silence of his workshop, the weaver watched the slow fading of his livelihood. His gentle art turned to quiet dust beneath the weight of foreign trade. Among the sepoys, those quiet soldiers who carried the company's flag but still wore the memory of home in every breath, the small discontents began to weave their way through the barracks. The uniform, the drill, the foreign commands, these were accepted with the calm discipline of a soldier's heart. But in the mess halls and by the river banks where they bathed, the soft murmurs of unease grew louder, like a river slowly carving its way through stone. In these whispers, the past and the present met, the quiet pride of a lineage that traced back to ancient warriors, and the soft humiliation of serving a distant power that did not know their names. The spark of change was carried in stories shared over shared meals, in the quiet glances of those who knew that the rifle they carried would one day ask them to choose between the oath of a soldier and the quiet prayers of their mothers and fathers. The new Enfield rifle, with its cartridges rumored to be greased with cow and pig fat, was more than just a weapon. It was a small insult, a quiet push against the deep faith that lived in every sepoy's heart. The cow, sacred to the Hindu, and the pig, forbidden to the Muslim, these were not just animals, but symbols of the quiet breath of faith that shaped daily life. And in the calm light of the barracks, this insult felt like a soft, deliberate wound.
In the palaces and the humble homes, in the crowded lanes of Delhi and the soft fields of Awadh, the whispers of these small injustices grew. They were not yet shouts, not yet cries of war. They were soft murmurs, like the gentle turning of soil before the planting of seeds. In the evenings, when the lamps were lit and the day's noise fell
into a soft hush, families spoke in low voices of how the old ways were slipping away. In the quiet sighs of mothers and the thoughtful silences of fathers, there was the slow promise of a storm to come. Merchants in the bazaars heard these murmurs too. In the shaded stalls where spices and silks still held the warm scent of the earth, the talk turned to how the company's policies favored their own traders, how the small voices of the local merchants were lost beneath the smooth speech of foreign tongues. In every trade route that had once carried the soft glow of prosperity, there was now the quiet weight of doubt. Yet even as these small discontents grew, life carried on with the soft rhythm of survival. The river still flowed past the ghats where children played. The temple bells still sang their low song at dawn. But in the quiet spaces between these old comforting sounds, the small seeds of change took root. In the hush of these days, the gentle breath of resistance began to rise. Let these soft echoes fill the quiet of your night, like the low hum of a lullaby sung by generations past. In the calm breath of these words, find the slow comfort of knowing that even the smallest discontent can grow into the gentle courage that shapes history. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and tonight we listen to the first whispers of the 1857 Revolt, gentle voices that would one day become the roar of a nation's soul. Chapter 3. The Spark, Mangal Pandey and the Cartridges. The night was warm, the air thick with the quiet sigh of the land ready for summer's wait. In the calm flicker of the barracks lamps, sepoys sat close, their voices low and careful. Mangal Pandey, a name that would soon become a gentle murmur of courage across the plains, sat among them. His face was calm, his hands steady, but in his eyes burned the small, steady flame of quiet defiance. The new Enfield rifle had arrived, gleaming in the sun like a promise of power. But in its cartridges lay a quiet insult, a small challenge to the faith that lived in the slow breath of every sepoy's prayer. The rumor that the cartridges were greased with cow and pig fat was no small thing. It was a soft crack in the calm rhythm of daily life, a deliberate cut into the gentle hum of devotion that bound these soldiers to their land, their homes, and the gods that watched over them. At first, the talk was soft, a whisper in the long lines of the drill yard, a careful question in the hush of the night. "Have you heard?" They would ask, their voices barely louder than the rustle of leaves outside the window. "Do they mean to break us with this?" And in the quiet glances that passed between them, there was the slow, steady understanding that this was more than a weapon. It was a quiet war against the soul. For Mangal Pandey, the weight of this insult pressed deep. He was a soldier, loyal to the discipline of the company,
But in the soft spaces of his heart, the old songs of home still sang. The stories of his ancestors, the quiet pride of his village, the soft comfort of the evening aarti, these were the roots that held him steady, even as the world around him shifted in the slow breath of empire. On that day in Barrackpur, the sun rose calm and golden, its light soft on the whitewashed walls of the cantonment. But in the gentle heat of the afternoon, Mangal Pandey stood with his musket in his hands, his breath steady, his eyes clear. In that quiet moment, he chose to break the hush of silence with a single act of defiance.
The shots rang out, sharp in the warm air. But even in their loudness, there was a strange calm, the soft echo of a heart that could no longer bend. Mangal Pandey's musket cracked like the first cry of a storm. But it was not anger that guided his hand, nor the loud heat of rage. It was the quiet breath of dignity, the calm courage of a man who would not let his faith be crushed beneath the weight of another's rule. The other sepoys watched, their breath caught in the hush of that moment. In the soft dust of the parade ground, something shifted, a small crack in the quiet order of the barracks, a gentle tremor in the calm surface of daily life. Mangal Pandey was soon subdued. His musket wrestled from his grasp, his body carried away in the hush of military justice. But in the small, patient corners of the soldiers' hearts, his quiet defiance had found a home. Across the cantonments, the story of Mangal Pandey's stand moved like a soft ripple in still water. In the low conversations by the river, in the careful exchanges of letters and small tokens, the spark of his act was carried with gentle reverence. The sepoys, who had long accepted the silent weight of obedience, found in his name a small bright light that whispered of something more. The British officers, watchful and measured, tried to hush the growing murmur. They spoke of discipline, of order, of the calm necessity of control. But even in the steady words of command, they felt the quiet shift in the air, the small breath of something that could not be pressed back into silence. In the villages where Mangal Pandey's name was spoken softly in the glow of evening lamps, the mothers and fathers, the old men with memories that reached back to other empires, nodded in quiet understanding. They knew that the smallest crack in the stone could become a river, that the first soft breath of defiance could grow into the slow, patient hum of freedom. In this gentle hour, let the story of Mangal Pandey's quiet courage settle softly in your heart. Let it be a soft lullaby of resistance, a small comfort that even the calmest night can carry the promise of dawn. In the hush of these words, may you find the gentle breath of a story that belongs to us all, a whisper of dignity that lives on in every quiet act of courage. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and tonight we listen to the spark that turned the soft breath of discontent into the gentle fire of India's first struggle for freedom. Chapter 4: The Rising Tide, from Meerut to Delhi. In the warm breath of early May, as the sun slipped below the soft line of the trees, the quiet hush of discontent became a gentle murmur of action. In Meerut, a place where the slow hum of daily life had long held the weight of soldiers' drills and British commands. The quiet tension found its first true voice. The sepoys at Meerut had listened to the whispers of cartridges greased with the forbidden fat, their hearts torn between the calm duty of a soldier and the quiet weight of faith. For days they had carried this quiet burden in the low conversations that passed between them at night, in the small glances exchanged beneath the watchful gaze of their officers. But on the 10th of May, that quiet weight turned into the soft roar of a storm. The sepoys, calm but resolute, gathered in the warm dusk, their voices steady, their eyes clear. No loud proclamations, no wild cries, only the slow, deliberate breath of men who had decided that enough was enough. Their muskets, once instruments of another's rule, were turned now in quiet rebellion. The shots that rang out were not a roar of chaos, but a soft song of defiance, the gentle, measured echo of a people reclaiming their voice. British officers, so used to the calm order of the parade ground, found themselves caught in the slow wave of resistance that moved like water through the cantonment. The fires that rose in Meerut that night flickered with the gentle glow of candles in a prayer hall, each flame a soft promise that the quiet strength of the sepoys had been awakened, that the patience of generations had found its gentle breath of defiance. In the hush of these first steps, there was no wild rage, only the quiet dignity of those who had borne the weight of another's rule too long. As the night deepened, the sepoys turned their gaze toward Delhi, the old seat of emperors, the quiet witness to centuries of history. The road to Delhi stretched out before them, dusty and soft in the moonlight, like the slow rhythm of a prayer. Step by step they moved forward, not in wild flight, but in the calm, measured pace of a pilgrimage. The city of Delhi, wrapped in the soft shadows of its ancient walls, watched as the sepoys approached. In the Red Fort, Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor, lived in the quiet echo of his ancestors' grandeur. He was old, his voice soft as the sigh of a distant river. But in the gentle hush of his court, the sepoys saw the quiet hope of legitimacy, a figure who could give voice to their struggle. When they entered the city, it was not with the roar of conquerors, but with the soft determination of those who had found their purpose. They placed their faith in Bahadur Shah Zafar, and in his tired eyes, the gentle breath of the past rose again. The old emperor, more poet than king, more dreamer than ruler, was swept along by the quiet tide of history that had come to his door. In the cool courtyards of Delhi, where jasmine perfumed the evening air, the sepoys found brief rest. The hush of the old city seemed to cradle their resolve, and in the flicker of lamps and the low chants of evening prayers, they felt the soft comfort of belonging to a cause larger than themselves. Across the land, the gentle ripple of Meerut's defiance spread. In small villages and grand cities, the story of those first shots moved like a soft breath, stirring the hearts of those who had long kept their silence.
Merchants in crowded markets, women at their doorways, old men watching the slow setting of the sun, all felt the quiet shift in the air. The British too felt this slow, measured hum of resistance. Their reports spoke of mutiny, of the need for swift, harsh discipline. But beneath their calm words, there was the quiet fear of a tide that could not be turned back, of a patience that had grown deep and strong in the soft soil of this land. Let this story of the march from Meerut to Delhi settle softly in your heart tonight, like the gentle glow of an oil lamp in the hush of evening. Let it be a quiet comfort that even the smallest acts of defiance, spoken softly and walked slowly, can shape the breath of history. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this gentle hour, we listen to the calm footsteps that would become the slow, patient song of India's first war for freedom.
Chapter 5 Whispers in Awadh, Lucknow's Gentle Defiance. As the tide of quiet rebellion moved across the plains, the old city of Lucknow stirred from its gentle dreams. Awadh, a kingdom known for its soft elegance and the gentle music of its courtyards, felt the growing echo of the sepoys' defiance. The soft rustle of silk in the halls of the Nawabs, the quiet music of sitars in moonlit gardens, all seemed to hold their breath as the city waited for the slow march of change. The British, in their starched coats and careful commands, had already laid their claim to the kingdom. The gentle rule of the Nawabs, once draped in the warmth of poetry and patronage, had been replaced by the cold weight of the company's policies. The people of Awadh watched this change with quiet hearts. The farmers in the green fields along the Gomti, the artisans shaping clay with hands that remembered the old rhythms of the land, the merchants whose soft voices once set the price of silk and spice in markets that hummed with color. In this slow, patient land, Begum Hazrat Mahal rose like the quiet flame of a lamp in the night. When the British annexed Awadh, she had seen the soft dignity of her kingdom bruised beneath the foreign boot. But she carried her sorrow not as a burden, but as a quiet promise that the soul of Awadh would not be silenced. The sepoys who came to Lucknow found in her a gentle strength that echoed their own. Her words were not loud, but they moved through the city like a soft prayer, steady and sure. In the calm of her eyes, the soldiers saw the quiet reflection of their own resolve. In the small, careful meetings behind the carved charokas, in the low murmur of plans made by lamplight, the soft breath of defiance grew. The Residency, where the British watched with wary eyes, stood like a quiet fortress in the heart of Lucknow. Behind its high walls, the calm precision of colonial rule felt the first soft tremors of doubt. The city outside those walls, alive with the gentle rhythm of life, the clink of bangles in narrow lanes, the low chants of evening prayers, began to hum with the slow promise of resistance. The siege that came was not a sudden storm, but a gentle, patient rain. The sepoys and the people of Lucknow did not rush the walls with wild fury. They moved with the calm strength of those who know that time itself is on their side. In the soft glow of dawn, they dug trenches and built barricades. their work as steady and deliberate as the quiet weaving of a basket. Inside the residency, the British held their ground with the quiet fear of those who know that the land itself is against them. The long days of siege passed with the slow weight of waiting. Each sunrise a gentle test of endurance. Each night a soft echo of uncertainty. But outside, the city of Lucknow stood calm. The palaces with their gentle arches and the mosques with their slender minarets watched over the quiet defiance of their people. The small fires that cooked the soldiers' meals, the low songs that drifted through the narrow lanes, the quiet prayers whispered in the hush of dawn, all wove a soft tapestry of resilience. Even as the British called for reinforcements, even as the cannons spoke in the heavy voice of war, there was no wild anger in the hearts of those who defended Lucknow. There was only the slow, steady breath of a people who had decided that the gentle dignity of their homes was worth every quiet sacrifice. In the calm light of each new day, Begum Hazrat Mahal stood like the soft heart of Awadh itself. Her presence a quiet vow that the soul of her kingdom would not bend. The children who watched from doorways, the old men who listened to the soft rhythm of distant drums, the women who carried water to the trenches with hands that smelt of jasmine, all felt her quiet courage settle around them like the soft warmth of a shawl. As the night deepens and the stars hang in the soft velvet of the sky, let the gentle defiance of Lucknow be a calm breath in your dreams. Let it remind you that in the slow, patient strength of those who will not bow, there is a quiet power that even the loudest voices cannot silence. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this gentle hour we listen to the soft, steady beat of a city's heart. A heartbeat that echoes still.
Chapter 6. Jhansi's brave queen, Rani Lakshmi Bai's calm courage. In the quiet dawn that settled over the fort of Jhansi, the early light caught on the worn stones of a city that had long carried the weight of history. The fort's high walls, their cool stones smoothed by centuries of wind and quiet watchfulness, held within them a story of gentle resolve, the soft, patient strength of a queen who would not let her kingdom slip quietly into the shadows. Rani Lakshmi Bai, the queen of Jhansi, was not born to power. Her childhood was filled with the soft rustle of silks and the gentle murmur of prayers, the low chants of temple bells that wove their way into her dreams. But when her husband, the Maharaja, passed beyond the reach of the living, she found herself not only a widow, but the quiet guardian of a kingdom whose heart beat in every small courtyard and every narrow lane. The British, with their cold eyes and careful commands, had already spoken of the doctrine of lapse. They saw in the quiet halls of Jhansi an opportunity to extend their shadow a little further. But Lakshmi Bai saw only the gentle weight of her people's hopes, the soft breath of loyalty that lived in the hearts of those who called Jhansi home. She did not shout, she did not rage. In the soft hush of dawn, she gathered her counsel and spoke with a voice as calm as the slow murmur of a river. She would not surrender Jhansi, she said. She would not let the small hands of children and the quiet prayers of mothers be forgotten in the cold ledgers of empire. When the British came to take what they believed was already theirs, Lakshmi Bai stood at the gates of the fort, her gaze steady, her calm presence a soft shield that held back the heavy step of the foreign army. The walls of Jhansi, once only stone and mortar, became the quiet echo of her courage. Each brick a gentle vow that her people would not be left alone in the hush of history. In the slow rhythm of the days that followed, the queen rode through the narrow lanes of her city, her horse's hooves a soft percussion in the warm dust. She spoke with the mothers who wove garlands in the shade, with the old soldiers whose voices still carried the soft hum of ancient battles, with the children whose laughter was a quiet promise of tomorrow. In every gentle nod, every careful word, she wove a tapestry of calm defiance. The siege of Jhansi was a slow, patient struggle, not a wild storm, but the soft weight of rain that shapes the earth. The cannon spoke in harsh voices. The air grew heavy with the scent of powder and fire. But within the fort there was the calm breath of a people who would not bend. Lakshmi Bai rode through the narrow corridors of her fort, her young son tied to her back, her sword a quiet promise in the soft light of dawn. She moved not as a queen, but as the quiet mother of a kingdom, each step a gentle vow that her people would not face the darkness alone. When the walls of the fort were finally breached, when the quiet hum of prayer met the harsh crack of musket fire, Lakshmi Bai did not falter. In the hush of that final night, she gathered what strength remained and rode out into the soft embrace of the moonlight. Her presence a fleeting shadow, a gentle breath of resistance that would live on long after the cannons had fallen silent. In the years that followed, her name became a soft echo in the hearts of those who remembered. The children of Jhansi spoke of the queen who had carried the weight of a kingdom on her quiet shoulders. The old women who wove stories by the flicker of lamps told of the gentle courage that had lived in her gaze. And in every small act of defiance that followed, there was the quiet memory of Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi, whose calm breath of courage had become the soft promise of a nation's dreams. As you listen to this story tonight, let the gentle courage of Rani Lakshmi Bai settle softly in your heart. Let it be a quiet comfort, a soft breath of strength that carries you into sleep. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this gentle hour we remember the queen who rode not for glory, but for the quiet dignity of a people who would not be forgotten.
Chapter 7. The Calm Amidst the Storm, Tatya Tope's Strategy. In the quiet hush that settled over the plains after the fierce echo of cannon fire, the name of Tatya Tope moved like a soft breath through the small villages and the crowded markets. His was not the loud roar of a conqueror, but the calm, deliberate voice of a leader who understood that even the storm must pause for a breath. Tatya Tope had been a trusted general in the court of Nana Sahib, his presence a quiet strength behind the bright light of rebellion. In the gentle dusk of India's first war of independence, he moved like a shadow beneath the heavy boughs of peepal trees and along the soft dust of hidden paths, a strategist whose plans were as patient as the slow curl of the river.
He was not a king, nor a prince wrapped in silks and titles. He was a man of the land, whose quiet courage came from the soft rhythms of the earth itself. His strategies were not crafted in the echo of grand halls, but in the low hum of whispered conversations, in the calm planning that comes in the hush of midnight councils. When the British retook Delhi, their heavy footfalls and their harsh commands echoing in the narrow lanes of the old city, it was Tatya Tope who kept the gentle hum of resistance alive. He gathered the scattered sepoys and the quiet hopes of small chieftains, weaving them into a soft tapestry of defiance that stretched across the fields of Kanpur and Gwalior. In the slow nights of planning, by the small flicker of lantern light, he traced the old roads of the land, the dusty paths known only to those who had walked them in the soft dawn light, the secret ways that wound through the forests like the gentle veins of the earth. His mind was a calm river, his thoughts moving with the slow, deliberate flow that gives life to the dry soil of a summer's day. In battle, he did not charge headlong into the roar of gunfire. He moved with the patience of a farmer planting seeds in the warm soil. Each step a careful calculation, each maneuver a soft breath of strategy.
When the British columns pushed forward, he drew them into the quiet maze of narrow paths and small streams, where their heavy horses faltered and their cold discipline met the gentle chaos of the land. The people who watched him pass spoke of his calm eyes and the soft words that carried the weight of hope. The old women at the village wells, the children who peered from behind doorways, the farmers who paused in their quiet work to watch the small columns of sepoys move through the fields, all felt in his presence the quiet promise that the struggle was not yet over. In the hush of the night, as the small fires of his camp flickered in the warm air, Tatya Tope would sit cross-legged on the earth, his voice low and measured. He spoke not of glory, nor of revenge, but of the soft strength that comes from knowing that even the smallest stream can carve a path through stone. The British, with their careful reports and their maps drawn in the cold glow of lamplight, spoke of him with a quiet respect. They called him elusive, a shadow in the warm dusk, a soft breath of resistance that could not be silenced. Even as they pushed forward with their heavy boots and their measured commands, they knew that in the calm mind of Tatya Tope, the gentle breath of freedom still lived. When the final days came and the soft glow of dawn touched the fields where his soldiers had once marched, Tatya Tope did not fade into the hush of history like a broken whisper. He was captured, tried and hanged by the British, but in the quiet corners of the villages, where the earth still held the warmth of his passing, his name remained a gentle echo. In the old songs sung by grandmothers to restless children, in the quiet prayers whispered in the hush of dawn, Tatya Tope's name is still spoken as a soft promise, a reminder that even in the calmest voice there can be a strength that no empire can bend. As the night deepens and the air grows still, let the quiet courage of Tatya Tope be a soft breath in your dreams. Let it cradle you in the gentle truth that even the calmest heart can hold the weight of a nation's hope.
This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and tonight we remember the quiet strategist who wove the threads of resistance into the soft tapestry of India's first struggle for freedom.
Chapter 8. A gentle chorus of resistance. Other uprisings across India. As the calm breath of rebellion moved through the plains and hills, the quiet hum of resistance began to echo in small towns and distant villages. This was not the roar of a single battle or the loud cry of a single leader. It was a gentle chorus of voices, each carrying a note of defiance in the soft rhythm of the land. In Bihar, the fields that once echoed only with the quiet songs of harvest now held the soft murmur of men and women who would not let their dreams be stolen. The landlord Kunwar Singh, his hair white as the moonlight on the Ganges, rose from the quiet comfort of his estate to join the sepoys in their slow, patient stand. His age was not a burden, but a gentle strength, a reminder that the roots of resistance run deep in the soil of a people's memory. Kunwar Singh moved with the calm dignity of a man who knew the slow turn of seasons. His voice was not loud, but in its measured calm, there was a quiet conviction that spoke louder than any shout. The farmers who once bent to sow grain now marched beside him, their steps as steady as the rows they had once planted in the warm earth. In the south, the soft hills of Satara heard the gentle call of freedom in the low chants of small bands of warriors. In the forests of central India, the old Gond chieftains watched from the cool shade of ancient trees, their quiet counsels a promise that even the thick silence of the forest could not hide the growing breath of change. Across the rivers and hills of India, the quiet music of resistance found its own rhythm. In Kanpur, Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Baji Rao II, gathered those who still carried the memory of the Peshwas in their hearts. His presence was a calm center in the swirl of revolt, a gentle echo of the old Maratha pride that had once hummed beneath the warm sun of the Deccan. The British wrote of these uprisings as fragments, small fires to be stamped out, gentle ripples to be stilled. But in each small act of defiance, there was the soft promise that the roots of resistance ran too deep to be pulled from the earth. In every quiet footstep of a sepoy who refused the new cartridges, in every soft breath of a farmer who withheld his grain, in every calm gaze of a mother who hid her son from the company's scouts, there was the quiet chorus of a people who had found their voice. The rivers carried these whispers like slow songs. From the Ganga to the Yamuna, from the Godavari to the Krishna, the water held the memory of these small acts of courage. The temples and mosques, the quiet ghats and the shaded banyan trees, all became silent witnesses to the gentle unfolding of a struggle that was as patient as the flow of the rivers themselves. In the hush of evening, as lamps flickered in small homes and the last prayers of the day rose like soft breath into the night, the people of Bharat held these stories close. They did not need the loud proclamations of empire or the careful lines of company reports to know that a new day was waiting to be born. As you listen to this gentle chorus tonight, let it settle around you like the slow embrace of dusk.
Let it remind you that in the soft strength of small voices, in the quiet breath of patient hearts, there is a power that no empire can silence. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this calm hour, we remember the chorus of courage that moved through every quiet corner of a sleeping land. Chapter 9. The British Response, a Harsh Echo. As the gentle chorus of resistance grew, the British response came not as a measured conversation, but as a harsh echo that swept across the quiet fields and narrow lanes. In the soft dawn light, the steady beat of marching boots and the cold clink of bayonets carried a heavy promise. The Empire would not let the whisper of freedom grow unchecked. The British had watched the slow bloom of defiance with wary eyes, their reports heavy with words of rebellion and mutiny. In the careful chambers of colonial rule, the gentle murmur of sepoys and peasants was met with cold plans drawn in the hush of polished offices. The Empire's quiet confidence gave way to a fierce urgency, a calculated resolve to restore the stillness of control. In Delhi, where Bahadur Shah Zafar had been lifted on a tide of sepoy loyalty, the British moved with the deliberate weight of empire. Their armies crossed the dusty plains, the soft breath of dawn filled with the low rumble of cannon wheels and the muted songs of distant bugles. The walls of the Red Fort, warm with the memory of centuries, felt the slow, heavy push of a foreign power that would not leave quietly. The British siege of Delhi was a patient tightening of a noose. Day after day, their guns spoke in harsh voices, the calm flow of the Yamuna carrying the echoes of each cannon's roar. Within the city, the people watched with quiet hearts. Merchants who once traded in the shade of old arches, mothers who hushed their children to sleep with soft songs, elders who remembered when the Mughal emperors still walked with calm dignity through the gardens of the fort. When the final breach came, it was not a roar, but a heavy sigh. The slow collapse of a city's gentle defenses beneath the cold weight of empire. The last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was led away from the cool shade of his ancestors' halls. In his soft, measured poems, there was no anger, only the quiet sorrow of a king whose realm had become a memory, whispered in the hush of night. In Kanpur and Lucknow, the British answer was the same, a slow, deliberate reassertion of control that carried with it the sharp scent of powder and the low thunder of cavalry hooves. The sieges were long, the fighting harsh, but always there was the quiet patience of empire, a calm determination to turn the gentle breath of rebellion into silence once more. The reprisals that followed were cold and measured. In the fields where the harvest had once grown green beneath the warm sun, gallows rose like stark trees, their silent promise heavy in the air. The British officers, their voices calm and their orders precise, spoke of justice. But in the quiet hearts of the people, there was only the soft ache of loss. Yet, even as the British pushed forward with their cold discipline, the gentle hum of resistance did not vanish. In the small homes where mothers lit lamps in memory of sons lost, in the quiet prayers whispered by fathers who watched the slow march of red-coated soldiers, The promise of freedom lived on like a soft ember. In the calm evenings after the guns had fallen silent, the people of Bharat remembered. They remembered the quiet strength of sepoys who would not bend, the gentle defiance of Rani Lakshmibai, the patient strategy of Tatya Tope, and the soft murmur of every small voice that had spoken of dignity. The British believed they had restored order, but in the hush of the night, the memory of resistance still moved like a slow river, carrying with it the promise that no empire can quiet the breath of a people's dreams. As you rest tonight, let the harsh echo of the British response be a gentle reminder that even the loudest thunder cannot drown out the softest song. In the calm breath of these words, may you find the quiet truth that every struggle, no matter how gently it begins, leaves its mark in the slow, patient heartbeat of history. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and tonight we remember the quiet dignity that stood tall even in the shadow of empire's cold voice.
Chapter 10. The Final Breath of the Revolt. As the soft winds of late summer moved across the plains, the final breath of the 1857 revolt settled like a gentle sigh over the quiet villages and the cool courtyards of old forts. The once rising tide of defiance had met the patient weight of empire, and in the hush of these final days, the small fires of rebellion flickered softly, like the last glow of a lamp before the dawn. In Gwalior, where Tatya Tope had gathered his forces for one final, careful stand, the British pushed forward with the slow, deliberate precision of a power that would not be denied. The city, its narrow lanes once filled with the low hum of evening prayers, felt the heavy step of foreign boots. Yet, in the calm faces of the soldiers who stood with Tatya Tope, there was no wild rage, only the quiet breath of resolve, a final promise that the land's gentle heartbeat would not be stilled so easily. Jhansi had already fallen, its brave queen's memory a soft echo in the hearts of those who still carried their muskets with careful hands. Lucknow too had bent under the heavy sigh of empire, but the gentle breath of resistance had carried on in the low conversations of those who would not let the memory of their city fade. Even in Kanpur, where the river Ganga had carried away so many tears, there were quiet prayers that one day the river would carry the soft breath of freedom instead. As the British pushed through these last strongholds, they spoke of victory in careful, measured words. Their reports were precise, their voices calm as they recounted the quiet fall of forts and the last whispers of defiance. But in the soft shadows of every ruined gate, in the calm breath of every village that had watched the red-coated soldiers pass, there was the quiet certainty that something had changed. A small, patient promise that no empire's victory could silence the gentle breath of a people's hope. The leaders of the revolt, one by one, were taken or fell. Bahadur Shah Zafar, the poet king, was sent away from the cool shade of the Red Fort to the distant, quiet corners of Rangoon. His soft words of sorrow became the gentle song of a king who had seen the slow turning of the wheel of time. Tatya Tope too was captured in the hush of a quiet dawn, his measured steps and calm mind never bowing, even as the gallows rose against the morning sky.
For the people who had carried the weight of this gentle storm, the days turned slowly back to the rhythm of life. The sowing of seeds in soft warm earth, the weaving of cloth in the cool shade of the loom. But in every small act, in the quiet pause between each heartbeat, there lived the soft memory of those who had stood tall. The lullabies sung to children spoke of the gentle courage of sepoys. The small prayers whispered at dawn remembered the calm resolve of queens and warriors who had moved like shadows through the soft dust of the land. In the final breath of the revolt, there was no grand victory to sing of, no loud drums or wild celebrations. But there was a soft, unbroken dignity that carried forward like the low hum of temple bells at dawn. In every village that had known the quiet echo of gunfire, in every city that had watched the slow approach of British columns, the memory of resistance was folded softly into the rhythm of daily life. As you listen to this story tonight, let the final breath of the 1857 revolt be a gentle comfort, a soft promise that even when the storm quiets, the memory of those who dared to dream remains. Let it be a small flame in the calm darkness of the night, a gentle whisper that the slow breath of history is shaped not by the loudest voices, but by the soft, patient courage of those who refuse to be forgotten. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this gentle hour, we remember the final breath of a revolt that would one day become the quiet dawn of freedom's first light.
Chapter 11. A Legacy Written in the Silence of the Night. As the final echoes of the revolt faded softly into the warm breath of the plains, the gentle weight of memory settled over the land like the soft mist of early morning. The soldiers had laid down their muskets, the cannons had fallen silent, and the air that once trembled with the low hum of rebellion now held the quiet stillness of reflection. In this calm silence, a legacy took root, woven gently into the hush of each new dawn. The British believed that their harsh echo had restored order, that the slow rhythm of empire would once more carry the land's breath. But in the quiet corners of every village and the soft courtyards of every city, the memory of the revolt lived on, not as a loud cry, but as a gentle murmur that touched every heart. In the soft light of evening lamps, the stories were told in low voices. Mothers spoke of Rani Lakshmibai's calm courage as they brushed the hair of daughters who would grow to know the quiet strength of their foremothers. Fathers told of the patient mind of Tatya Tope, of the gentle resolve of Kumar Singh, as they watched their sons take up the slow, steady work of the land. The old men who gathered in the shade of peepal trees spoke softly of Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last emperor whose poetry had become a lullaby of sorrow and dignity. These stories were not written in books or proclaimed in grand speeches. They were held in the calm spaces between each breath, in the gentle hush that settled over the fields at dusk, in the slow, patient weaving of dreams that would one day find their voice in the soft dawn of independence. In every small act of daily life, the planting of rice in the warm mud, the careful shaping of clay at the potter's wheel,
The quiet prayers whispered at temple thresholds. There lived the soft echo of those who had dared to stand against the weight of empire. For the British, the memory of 1857 became a careful lesson, a quiet reminder that even in the calmest of lands, the breath of freedom can never be fully stilled. In their reports and official accounts, they wrote of mutiny and rebellion, of a people who had risen like a sudden storm. But in the quiet hearts of Bharat, the story was different. Not of mutiny, but of a gentle promise that no foreign rule could silence the soul of the land. In the soft glow of moonlight on the Ganga, the river that had carried the tears of the mothers of Kanpur and the quiet prayers of the widows of Lucknow, there was the gentle promise that history is not measured in battles won or lost, but in the calm dignity of those who refuse to be forgotten. The river carried these memories like small petals floating on its slow, patient flow, a gentle testament that the breath of a people's dreams is stronger than the weight of any empire. As the night deepens and the stars turn slowly overhead, let this quiet legacy be a soft comfort in the hush of your thoughts. Let it remind you that in the smallest acts of resistance, in the softest voices of defiance, there is a power that endures beyond the noise of conquest. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this gentle hour, we remember the legacy written not in the roar of cannons, but in the silence of a people's calm, patient dreams.
Chapter 12. The Soft Echo of 1857 Today. In the soft glow of the present, where the streets hum with the slow rhythm of a modern nation, and the air carries the gentle scent of chai in crowded markets, the echo of 1857 still lives. Not as a loud memory, but as a quiet hum beneath the everyday breath of life. The cities that once held the slow steps of sepoys and the measured commands of foreign officers now move with the patient rhythm of shopkeepers opening their shutters at dawn, of school children laughing as they walk to class in the golden light of morning. In Delhi, where Bahadur Shah Zafar's poetry once whispered from palace walls, the Red Fort stands quiet but watchful, a soft witness to the calm strength of a people who have found their voice once more. In Lucknow, where the gentle songs of old courtyards still hum through the narrow lanes, the gardens bloom bright, their flowers a quiet tribute to the patient hearts that once stood unbowed before the weight of empire. The Residency, where the British once watched with wary eyes, now stands as a quiet monument, its broken walls a soft breath of remembrance in the warm air of evening. The children who play cricket in the open fields of Jhansi run in the soft dust where once the Queen's horse carried her calm courage through the hush of battle. Their laughter carries the gentle promise that the land remembers, that even in the games of childhood, the memory of dignity and defiance can still find its quiet home. In the slow chant of evening aarti at the river ghats, in the soft steps of pilgrims climbing the stone steps of ancient temples, the legacy of 1857 moves like a gentle thread,
a soft promise woven into the cloth of daily life. It is not loud, not a shout that demands to be heard. It is the calm heartbeat of a people who have carried the breath of freedom through centuries of quiet waiting. For those who listen closely, in the hush of early dawn or the slow sigh of dusk, the echo of 1857 is still there. A gentle mama that says no empire, no foreign rule can ever truly silence the breath of a people's dreams. In the calm rhythm of modern Bharat, in the low hum of trains, and the soft glow of street lamps, there is the quiet strength of those who came before. The sepoys, the farmers, the queens and generals who once moved with the soft breath of hope through the long night of foreign rule. As you drift softly into sleep tonight, let the quiet echo of 1857 be a gentle comfort, a soft promise that the smallest acts of courage, the calmest voices of defiance, live on in the slow, patient flow of time. Let it be the gentle breath that eases the restless corners of your heart, the soft lullaby that carries you into dreams of quiet strength and the warm light of dawn. This is Sleepy Indian Historian, and in this final hush of our journey tonight, may you find rest in the soft promise of a past that still lives in every quiet breath of the present.
Thank you for joining me on this gentle journey through the soft echoes of 1857, where the calm courage of sepoys, the quiet strength of queens, and the patient dreams of a nation still whisper through the hush of the night. If this story has brought you a moment of calm, a soft comfort in the rhythm of history's breath, please take a moment to like this video, share it with those who cherish the gentle echoes of the past, and subscribe to Sleepy Indian Historian. Your support keeps these stories alive, a quiet light in the slow, steady heartbeat of time.